Hello everyone, welcome. So today what we're going to be working on is I want to model a guitar, namely my Telecaster. Yeah, so we're going to get to it. The Telecaster is actually one of the probably more easy guitars to model because of the more boxy, straight design on the body. But I'm going to show some techniques that you can use to model a Strat or any other type of guitar that has a more organic kind of look to it. So let's go ahead and get started. So, okay, we're going to start off here in a top view. And from the top view, we're going to bring in a picture. So I took a picture of my guitar from the top down on my desktop here, right there. I'm going to open that up. I opened it in Photoshop and I made a PNG of it. And then we're just going to kind of stretch it out. All right. And remove the background just to make it so it's a little bit easier. And we want to start off by making sure that it's the right scale. So I'm going to draw a line from a grid snap here, just maybe right around there. And I'm going to turn ortho on so that it locks in straight. And I'm going to go 38 quote because I am in my default template, which is in millimeters. 38 quote and click. So we've got a 38-inch long line. And then we'll, Control Z. Okay. We'll scale this in, shift and scale it in. And I'm going to try to kind of line it up as good as possible with my 38-inch line here. Turn the grid snap off so I've got a little bit more freedom. Okay, a little bit smaller. There we go. All right. So now we've got a accurate kind of representation of the size of our guitar. And I want to go ahead and lock the guitar on the background so I won't select it by mistake. Great. So next step is to start kind of tracing this thing out. I want to make it in parts too. I don't want all the parts to be the same continuous object. So I'm going to make the body apart, the neck apart, and then start making the little pieces that go on it. And in the first video, I'm going to make it less detailed and then progressively get more detailed with it, where I've got the screws and all of the stuff on the back and everything just really dialed in for every single component of it. So the inlays, even like this Fender logo, I'm going to talk about how to kind of inlay all of that stuff. So yeah, we're going to do a relatively extensive version of this, but we're going to start very basic. So with that said, I'm going to approximate some of this stuff based off of the shape. But one thing I'm going to trace is actually the body. And then most everything else I'm going to actually use measurements to kind of do. So the main reason why I imported this picture is to get this kind of amorphous body shape. Now, some people are more comfortable with Illustrator, and yes, you can trace this out in Illustrator if you wanted to. Just make sure that you've got it the right size. But I like to just use the curve tool here. And so I select the curve tool, and I'm going to start right there. Turn ortho off so I am in control here. And really you kind of got to get a feel for every single spot that you're going to be bending this thing. And sometimes you put a point not right on the line, a little over, and then you kind of curve the line back to create the right arc. And then I'll go a little bit this way, and then see it kind of starts to bend. And then to get it to bend more, just keep kind of clicking. And you can always come back later and refine this too if you're not being as accurate as I am here. And it's a real art too. So I mean, I've been doing this for years, so it's not uncommon for you to struggle a little bit more than I'm going to be here. Okay, and then the back does go kind of a little bit more straight up. Here, let me curve this in, and then it goes up. And I've got another 2 inches there at the top. So let me turn ortho on. I'm going to end it here, and then I'm going to draw a line from here straight to quote inches. Okay, because that's where the top of the stock ends, and then it goes straight across. And I'm going to say actually, no, it's the opposite. I'm sorry. This line is wrong. Delete. The 2 inches is on this side. So the line goes up here, 2 inches. And then comes straight over. And then from here, connects to there. And then I'm going to take away some of this by selecting these two at the same time. Left to right select this, and then I can kind of pull this in a little bit because it does taper there. Great. And then I need to connect these two. So one of the easier ways to do it is to fillet with the R, enter, 0, enter. So I'm filleting with a radius of 0, which just curves it around but makes it straight. Okay. So left to right select here, and that is our curve for our guitar. And I can come back in here to anything that it doesn't look quite right. I can grab this point, maybe pull it up a little bit. I can take this point and move it down a little bit just to kind of really get it to hug the body the way we want it to. And even moving it this way and up. Okay. I'm going to unlock the guitar here. And I'm going to put it on a new layer, change object layer up here. If you don't have the layers tab open, it's right there. And I'm going to just call it image so that I can toggle it on and off when I'm working. All right, so we've got the kind of the body shape. Now let's go ahead and work on the neck. And I am going to start by just drawing a line. The neck starts 12.5 inches from the back here. So it actually overlaps the body, of course. So let me draw a line from the furthest point here, this direction, 12.5, quote for inches, and then click to draw the line. And then at the base here, the neck is 2.25 inches, and then it tapers to 1.75 of an inch. So it's like a 1/2 inch taper from the back to the front. So I'm going to actually just draw those lines over here. So 2.25, quote, enter, click. Okay. And then I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint here all the way this direction, the length of the neck, which is 18.75 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to draw another line just out in the space here because it's got to be centered on that midpoint, and it's easier just to do it this way. So I'm going to do 1.75 inches, enter, click, grab this, move it. And yeah, there's a bit of tolerance on all of this stuff. I'm pretty sure when they're manufacturing this, they're using the metric system, and it's a little bit tighter with the dimensions and stuff. But for the sake of our design here, even though my Telecaster was made in America, there's probably still a little bit of wiggle room in these dimensions here. So 1/8 of an inch off here or there. Sorry, it's not going to be perfect, but if you were manufacturing this, you would have to be a little bit more precise. So move, and I'm going to move it from this midpoint here to the midpoint there, and then I'm going to kind of eyeball it and move it back because that's not going to be, see, it's not the center point there. So we want it to be in the center point. I'm just going to kind of move it, and it's fine if it overlaps slightly. Okay, so that's our neck. I can get rid of this middle line, which is kind of where the truss rod would be. And I'm going to join this together. Awesome. So we've got the shape of the neck where the fretboard is, and we've got to do the headstock next. So the easiest way to probably do the headstock is to bring back our image, right? Because and you can see things are a little bit off, but that's fine because the perspective of the camera is kind of warped anyway. So I'm going to actually... Oops, lock this in place again. Yeah, so that's mostly based off of the elongation that happens naturally when you're taking a photograph of something. So I will move my line work and this a little bit that way just so that I can actually work on the headstock shape here. So again, curve tool, right? So I'm just going to kind of curve this around. Oh, turn off ortho. Curve back around. Enter gets out. And then I'm going to come over here and just kind of add to it a little bit. This is pretty straight here. Okay, hide my back layer here. And then I'm going to join these all together because there's two lines there. And then I'm going to move this from here to there. And then I'm just going to kind of arrange it so that it looks like it's going to almost fit. And then I'll scale it a little bit this way again here. Play with it a little bit here just to get the curves right where you want them to be. All right. And the overall length of the headstock is something to consider too. We want to be accurate there. So we just drew it based off of the photograph, but let's go ahead and measure that. From front to back is about 6 7/8. So I'm going to draw a line from right about here. 6.875 inches. Enter. Here, let me turn ortho on. 6.875. Click. Okay, so yeah, you can see that again. The warping of the camera comes into effect here. So I'm just going to select that, kind of move this out, and then I'm going to pull it this way, just where it looks like it's lining up where we want it. And then I'm going to grab this control points here, and I'm going to pull it just a little bit that way too. And then we'll move the whole thing. So I'm just kind of like trying to make this look right. Move. Because that looked a little too skinny for me. And then I'll left to right select these three. Kind of move it this way. And then this one, just move to there. Okay. Looks about right. Yeah, I could fuss with it a little bit because I'm like, proportions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right, so we have this. Oh, I moved this thing too. I thought I joined all this together. I guess I didn't. So let's move it back. Okay, make sure this is still 12.75. Oops, that's millimeters. Yeah, close enough, cool. All right, now making sure I join this together. Yeah, so it doesn't move again. Cool. Headstock, neck. Awesome. All right. So now let's do some forming of the guitar, and then we'll come back in and we'll add more details on top, just to start making things 3D a little bit. So let's turn back off our picture here and switch to a perspective view. Okay, and I'm going to start off by making the thickness of the body here. And it is 1 3/4 of an inch thick. I can just type extrude curve. And I'll go down 1.75 inches, enter. Okay. And then this sticks up how far? A little less than 1/4 of an inch, but we'll make it 1/4 of an inch. 0.25 inches. Extrude up. No, that's too much. Extrude up. 3/16, 3/16 of an inch. A little less than 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And that's for the top portion of our fretboard. All right, now what we've got to do is we've got to finish out the top port right here, the headstock. So we drew these lines earlier, and all we have to do here is close out, because we just drew the outline of it. We want to close out by drawing another line from this point here to this point here, just to make sure that we've got the extra curve connecting these two so that we can extrude it. So that point to that point, and then we shift and select the whole thing and type join. So we've got one object that goes all the way around, and then extrude curve up to this point there. Awesome. Okay, so we've got kind of a good general shape going on here. Now this is where it gets fun, right? So far it's been just basic geometric modeling, right? But the guitar's got a little bit more curviness going on, right? And this guitar is not symmetrical at all. So even sometimes making it curvy is going to involve a little bit more creativity. We still have our original line that we used for drawing the shape of the object. And we're going to need to come back to that. So next step is to start playing with this as sub D objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the headstock because I think that the neck and head are going to be the easiest part to do and probably give you a little bit of basic training when it comes to sub Ds. So first I'm going to Boolean union this part together. And then I'm going to go ahead and extrude the surfaces down here. So let me go ahead also and merge all coplanar surfaces, and that's going to get rid of, I still got the curves here, which are fine. I want to keep those curves, but this is all now one flat spot. That line is from the curve. So and then I'm going to extrude surfaces this time. Select the surface to extrude and bring it down. I don't know, how far do I bring it down? One inch. One, quote, enter. And if your surface did not extrude solid like mine did, you probably missed a little button up here. So extrude surface, select the surface to extrude, enter. And you see where it says solid yes there. You need to make sure that is changed to yes. Yours might say no. If you have a Mac, it's, I think, over here. So bring it down 1 inch, shift, quote, enter. Okay. So now we have this, and we'll Boolean union the two of them together. Actually, you know what? I believe this is a little too thick. Control Shift, bring it up 0.25 inches because we did have the thickness of that. So I brought it up another 0.25 inches. So how I did that, Control Shift or Command Shift click, just grab the bottom and move it up with the arrows. Because it's completely flat, it doesn't destroy anything. And then I'm going to Boolean union those two together, and then I'm going to type merge all coplanar faces. And that'll make this all one piece. If I isolate it here, you can just type isolate to do that, or click on your center mouse wheel and this will come up. And you click and hold on it, and then this is the isolate, which is an awesome little tool, helps you quite a bit. Okay, so now we've got our headstock here. We're going to change it to sub Ds by going quad remesh. All right. I'm going to put preview on, and I'm going to go hide input. So this is what the output would look like. 125. I've already kind of played with this, so I've got the settings set up pretty nicely already, which is going to be helpful for you. But you can see if you played with this and made it like 200 or 2000, you'll see it adds more subdivisions to it. 125 gives me one line down the middle, and I also want to convert to sub D and keep the sub D creases. Okay, and then I'll hit OK once I've got it the way I want. The input device or object also is here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer here and call this hide layer, hide solids or something like that. And then just right click, change object layer. You'll notice it changes to purple. And then I've got my sub D I'm working on. So I'm gonna hit Z, enter, S, enter, so that it zooms on the selected object here. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're going to make this thing more organic. So I'm going to first Control Shift and double click here to grab that whole edge loop. And then I'm gonna type remove crease. All right. Creases are what they sound like. They make the parts of it straight, right? So I removed the crease there. And now we can kind of play with the curvature of it. I can bring this in a little bit here. But you see it's kind of warping the whole thing, and I don't want to do that. So let me undo. And I'm going to... It has a flat part right here that kind of comes in this way. So I'm going to Control Shift click and move this like that. And then I'm going to control double click on that, and I'm going to actually delete this one. I don't need that. That I think is going to be extra. And then I'm going to crease this and this. Sub decrease. And then I'm going to go to constant weight here. I'm going to change that to 40. Or no, I'm going to go 90%. Okay, so that kind of gives me a little bit of an edge there. And I'm going to Control Shift click and move this way a little bit more. Control Shift click on this, or Command Shift if you have a Mac. And then I'm going to go sub decrease. 90% is what I used last time. It still says 90 there. Let's see if that looks good. Okay. All right. So next, there is a transition where this bottom part actually goes up to curve so that it's not so thick for your hands. So I'm going to come in here and go Control Shift click and grab all of these. Or I could have on my sub D toolbar up here this edge selected. Let's see if I double click. Now, see, that goes all the way. I don't want that whole thing like that. I want just these bottom edges. So Shift click to add. And then I'm going to make sure my soft selection, so this little tool right here, soft transform, I want it to be just like that big. And kind of lift it up. And I might have to modify the ones next to it too. So I'm going to grab this, shift to the add to the selection. This is a little tedious, I know. You got to grab all these one at a time. There's really no way, because it is not an edge loop. We're not looking for the edge loops. We're just grabbing details. And then we're going to pull this up to kind of round it. Ooh. Maybe I should have done that earlier. Oh, that's probably... All right, and then I'm going to double click that, and I'm actually going to take this edge loop and I'm going to scale it this direction, because the fretboard does have a little bit of an arc to it, and that gives me my arc on the bottom too. And I want more arc. So let's see if I grab. And I'm going to make this smaller. Teeny tiny, and pull this down so it doesn't modify the top. Okay, so it is such an art to try to really understand how this is working, but I think with the amount of subdivisions we're looking at here, it's a little easier to understand. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to actually grab a couple of vertices. So I'm switching to vertice selection here, right there. I'm going to grab this vert and shift select to grab this vert, and then I'm going to pull them in and then this way a little bit and then down a little bit, just for that transition. And then this vert I'm going to push up a little bit. Okay. And then my headstock up here, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of these edges here. I wonder, let's see, what if I double click? Yeah, it's too much. So I want this one. I got to come through and select all this. And I can also maybe go to a left view and then left to right select now. Left to right select right there. Let's see what I got. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to move these up a little bit. And then I'm also going to go to right about there. And I'm going to type sub decrease again, and I'm going to crease this one at a constant weight of, let's do 100. Okay. So you can see how sharp that is. It's a little too sharp. Let me Control Z. Ah, it didn't give me my selection back. Dang it. Oh, I do have this one too, huh? No, that's the curve. Okay. Left to right select. Right there. Control click to unselect the things I do not need selected. Sub, decrease, and constant weight, I'm going to make it 90. Okay. Cool. And then this, of course, the bottom is a little funky here too. So let's switch out to face selection and just grab these faces here and pull them up. So I can tinker with this for a long time. So this is where you're going to end up spending a lot of time just playing with the different shapes and stuff, trying to get things the way you want. And let's look at it in rendered just to kind of get an idea. Yeah, and you can see how it's really starting to look a lot more organic and like a headstock. And I'll probably just play with that a lot more on my own time. But right now it's looking pretty good. I mean, and a lot of this stuff is just going to be rendered. I'm not manufacturing from this specific drawing, but if I was, I'd probably spend 6 hours on just playing with the sub Ds to make the organic form look right, so that if I have a CNC mill or something, it's milling it out to the perfect specifications. I wouldn't want this that thin. There's, you know, all kinds of little things that I'd change. But this, as they say, is close enough for government work right now. I'm going to leave that. And then we're going to come over here to the body and do kind of a similar thing. So let's go to shaded here. And I'm going to get out of all my selection tools and my sub D sub tools here. Click on that. Now I've got the body. And I'm going to go ahead and isolate this. So if I center mouse click, hold down on the little light bulb there and click on that. Now I've just got this. All right. So I'm going to quad remesh, and this one I think is going to need more. So I'm going to hit preview and hide. So I'm looking at my, oops. What happened? Let's do it again. Quad remesh. There we go. Preview, hide. Okay. So looking at our subdivisions here, we're looking for a few things, right? One, we can modify a lot of this afterwards. And if you've got something that's not like a Telecaster, that's a Stratocaster, you're definitely going to want to play with a lot of this. You can see, like, if I just turn off my sub decreases, it makes this thing a lot more organic shaped, and it already looks more like a Strat. But I'm going to leave the sub decreases on because my guitar is a Telecaster and it's a little bit more geometric. Okay, and hit OK. And then I'm going to hide this one. I'm putting it on the hide solids layer here, change object layer. And where is our curve? Did I get rid of that curve? Where's my curve? It's weird. I got rid of my curve. Well, I guess I can show you another tool here. So I can go to a top view here as well. And with this object selected, I can type make 2D. And right here, I can just deselect hidden lines and hit OK. And it's going to give me another version that's just the lines here. So I can now put this. Let me change object layer to default. Ungroup. Change object layer to default. Why won't you change object layer? Join this together. Let's put this back here. Okay. and then hide that. I just typed hide. Okay, so now I can go to a perspective view here, and I can see how I can change this here. So I can grab Control-Shift-Click and just grab like certain parts and kind of start to pull and push it into place. To make it fit more of the Telecaster outline. Just using edge selection or Control-Shift-Click to grab things. And this one right here is a little funky. And again, this is good enough for government work. So sub-Ds also, if I hit tab, you can see it becomes really boxy. You can see that there are areas that are rounded out and there's areas that are sharp. It's kind of a cool guitar. But yeah, so what we want to do next is if you do have a Telecaster or something like that, you could remove the sub-D creases. So if I double click on here, or if Stratocaster, right, I go remove crease. That just kind of completely makes it more organic, right? And then I'm actually going to go ahead and re-add the creases, but I'm going to do them at a little bit less intensity. So what happened to my... Okay, so double click, sub-D crease, enter, and change my constant weight to 90. Enter, enter. Okay, so that gives me a little bit more bevel on it. Do I want it that little bit? Is that good? It's actually a little bit sharper than that, so I'm going to undo. And then I'm going to go sub-decrease. Enter, constant weight. I'm going to go 98%. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing down here. Control Shift, double click. And because I have I set up my sub-D so lovely that that edge loop is all one edge loop. Sometimes you don't get that lucky, but that preview I was looking at did indicate. So make sure your sub-D settings are the same as mine. Otherwise, it's not going to be as lovely as mine. So sub-decrease and constant weight will switch over to 98. Okay, and that just gives my Tele a little flow. switch to rendered here, and you can see it's a little bit softer, right? Oh, and I can also turn off my hidden stuff and bring back my headstock that I originally made before. Okay. Now we are cooking with grease. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this as well. And this, oh, I did have the curve. It was there all along. Okay. This is looking very good. Switch over to shaded here. Next up on the agenda, mine is a Tele Deluxe, so it does have a little bit more form to the body. The let's see, the underside of the thicker part here does have like an area that curves in for less hip damage when you're working on it. Anybody who's or when you're playing it, anybody who's used the Telecaster before will be sure to know that it's kind of heavy. It's not like a Gibson or anything like that, but it's kind of heavy, and it does have like a sharp edge right there for most of them. But the Tele Deluxe actually takes care of that by having a little carve away here. So let's see if we can make this carve away happen by selecting some of this and kind of pulling it down. All right, to a thickness of about a 1/2 inch, right there. Okay. And then I'm going to just grab this one and kind of pull this way some. I'm trying to create this like little arc. So grab these two, maybe. Again, I would spend hours. I could just totally nerd out right here on this little like micro movements. And it's like a little too dramatic. I can scale these inward, and it's like, oh yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling that. Okay. Very good, very good. It's a flat surface still on top. Yeah, so if your soft selection is too big, you could warp the top too. I did not warp the top. My top looks good. My edges look nice. If I look at it again in rendered here, absolutely deluxe. All right, cool. I can also, of course, you see I still need to play with the headstock more. Maybe. Okay, so we've got the basics here. I'm going to probably just end this video here, and then we'll move on to more advanced parts of this in the next one. So hopefully you found this informative, working from a more geometric to a more organic kind of shape. The next step is going to be adding frets and hardware, and talking a little bit about how to get some materials and stuff going on as well. And yeah, so thank you very much. I will see you on the next one.